Hey guys, Austin here. I am back. I am feeling much, much better these days, and I appreciate your patience. I do again apologize that I didn't have any pregame reports or postgame recaps for the games on the weekend against Buffalo and Pittsburgh. But now that I am doing a bit better here, I am able to record some videos. So for this one, I kind of wanted to talk about just post-trade deadline thoughts, kind of discuss if I feel that the moves that were made, if they were good or bad, if Ken Holland should have done more. I want to discuss the road trip. The Oilers went 2-1-1 on it. I want to discuss some goaltending that there's some fans that are still not happy that we didn't acquire a goaltender, but after the trade deadline, it doesn't really look like there was a huge market for goalies anyways. I know San Jose and New Jersey swapped goalies, and New Jersey in general made a couple goalie moves, but nothing like earth-shattering or major. And then I kind of want to talk about Vegas as well, because there's a lot of people mad at the Vegas like LTIR shenanigans, and I wanted to give my thoughts on that. And then we'll kind of take a look ahead at the schedule and just go from there. So basically, first things first, hi, I'm Austin. If you're new to the channel and you want daily uploads, of course, other than when I'm sick, I provide so much Oilers content. It's nothing but Oilers. So if you are an Oilers fan and you want daily content, make sure to like the video, make sure you hit subscribe. Support goes a long way, and I do appreciate it. Now, when we look at the trade deadline for the Edmonton Oilers, we'll take a quick look at what they got and what they gave up. So they got Adam Henrique at 75% retained. They got Sam Carrick at 50% retained. They got Troy Stecher. They got the rights to Ty Taylor, who's a goaltender, and they got two 2024 7th-round picks. And what they gave up was 0 roster players, so nobody on the active roster or in Bakersfield. They didn't give up any prospects. They gave up a 2024 first-round pick, which is going to end up probably being somewhere in the 26 to 32 range, and a pretty weak draft. I didn't really realize that this draft class for 2024 isn't as strong as some previous years, so I'm actually not even remotely concerned about that pick. It's not like Edmonton's been able to draft and develop players anyways with those first rounders. They also gave up a conditional 2025 5th-round pick, a conditional 2026 4th-round pick, and a 4th-round pick in 2027. Again, these are picks that are just, you throw a dart at a board with random names on it, and you have just as good of a chance as landing a player that will eventually develop into an NHLer as you do if you just did as much scouting and research as possible. I saw a stat. Sportsnet posted a stat chart on the odds of a draft pick hitting after the first round, and 35% of the time a first round pick will be an NHLer, and then in the second round it drops to 15%, and then after that it's basically just a crapshoot. So I'm not worried about the draft picks given up, and the fact that we got 3 roster players without giving up anyone on the active roster right now, that is a good thing in my opinion. It would have been nice in a perfect world, we would have traded Cody Ceci and got a true upgrade for second pair right D to play with Darnell Nurse. But I am curious about Troy Stecher. I think he's going to be a good fit. I know in Arizona, he was getting top 4 minutes, maybe closer to 5, a number 5 role. In his fancies in Arizona were not great, but the Arizona Coyotes are one of the worst teams in terms of underlying metrics this season. So there's a reason kind of why they went on a huge losing skid, and Detroit is now losing a lot because their underlying metrics are not great. But I am curious about Troy Stecher stepping in if you're not confident in CC, or if Desharnais struggles in the playoffs again, because Stecher does have some playoff experience. He played with Vancouver in the 1920 shortened COVID season. That summer, Vancouver went, I think, to the second round. They did the play-in, and then they did a first round, and then they went to the second round, I think. I can't remember how far Vancouver actually got, but Stecher played a decent amount of games, and he looked very, very good. And then he was also on the LA Kings, not last season, but the season before, I think. And he played 4 games against us, and I think he played well in those games as well, from what I can remember at least. But when we talk about whether this was a trade deadline win for the Oilers, I give it a yes, and I probably give trade deadline grade on an F to A scale. I would say it was probably closer to a B plus than a C or a D. They addressed needs in terms of depth with Adam Henrique, and I know he's played 3 games. He doesn't have a point yet. I get it. It takes a little bit to get going on a new team. He's been put in the second line. He's been put on the third line. And now he's getting second power play time. But his optimal place in the lineup is third line center. On a really bad Anaheim Ducks team, he was one of the guys relied on for offense. In Edmonton, he's not relied on as heavily, but he will. History says he is going to produce. He's going to start scoring. He's going to start getting some assists. He's an underrated playmaker, and he can put the puck in the net. So I think Henrique, especially for the playoffs, if you do separate Draisaitl and McDavid, which I really hope they continue to do not play them on the same line, because it's hard enough defending just McDavid, and if a team has to figure out how to defend Draisaitl on his own line as well, Adam Henrique, hopefully he can feast on bottom six lines in the playoffs as well. And then, Troy Stecher, Sam Carrick. Carrick is not a guy that moves the needle a whole lot. He is a fourth line grinder. He will fight. He will hit. He does whatever the team wants him to do. He's one of those heart and soul type players, which is good. It's good to have those. I know Edmonton has a decent amount of these heart and soul type players. If you're looking for Sam Carrick to step into the lineup and just produce a ton of goals and points and whatever, that's not what Sam Carrick is. He is a face-off specialist. He can kill penalties, and he can play center or right wing as well. So in terms of just overall grade for Ken Holland and the Oilers, I'm going B+. Trade deadline Friday, I had a video recorded, but I didn't end up uploading it because there was so much emotions around the whole day, and I didn't even know how to approach it, and I was still very sick, so I barely had a voice, and it just wasn't a great video, so I didn't end up uploading it. I think now that we've gone through the weekend, we've had time to see some of these players for a little bit. I know Sam Carrick was a healthy scratch against Pittsburgh, but that's just because we have Derek Ryan as well. We have Brown, we have Janmark. These are guys that you can kind of interchange in and out of the lineup. And on the second half of a back-to-back, maybe just giving Carrick a rest, getting Derek Ryan back in. Overall, I'm not upset with the trade deadline. Again, like I mentioned earlier, perfect world, you'd get an upgrade on defense and you'd get a bona fide number one starting goaltender. But to get a number one starting goaltender, you would have to give up Stuart Skinner, because no team is giving up their actual starting goaltender without getting a starter back, and that is Stuart Skinner. So you can say you're not confident in the goaltending. That is a valid argument. For me, I'm okay with the goaltending. Calvin Pickard, he's done everything you want a backup to do. 919 save percentage, 2.24 goals against average. He has almost 4 goals saved above expected. Now, all those goals saved above expected pretty much came against Pittsburgh yesterday. He had almost 4 against Pittsburgh. But just in general, I am not I am not unconfident in this team. I think the Edmonton Oilers are the team to beat in the Western Conference. Now, people will say, oh, but Vegas, they got Hurdle, blah, blah, blah. They manipulate LTIR. Listen, they got Hurdle because Mark Stone, I don't think he's going to be back at all. Even if Vegas goes to the Cup Finals, I don't foresee him being back. He had a lacerated spleen, and for a normal human being, that is just a 4 to 6 month plus recovery minimum. When you're playing in the NHL with the hard checking, the physicality, that can be even longer, maybe. So I don't think Mark Stone is going to be back for game 1 of the playoffs. And if I will say, I will jump into the conspiracy theories about Vegas if Mark Stone is back in April for game 1 of the playoffs, but I don't think he is. And I think that's why Vegas got Tomas Hurdle, who's also injured, but he is projected to be back before the end of the season. Now, everyone mad about Vegas. Totally get it. Valid thing to get mad about. But, I think it was Anson Carter on ESPN or TNT yesterday or the day before. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, is an old saying. I don't think Vegas is actually cheating. These are rules that are in this current CBA, and they are taking advantage of them in a way that gives them an advantage. But when you look at their team, they might not even make the playoffs. Could you imagine, supposedly going all in and then still missing the playoffs? And that was another thing I wanted to talk about. There's a lot of fans that were really mad that this, all in year wasn't actually all in. How all in do you go without completely changing the dynamic of your team that is second place in the Pacific Division, that is the best team since they fired Jay Woodcroft? The Edmonton Oilers are a elite team. Their underlying metrics suggest that they are also an elite team. They are one of the best possession teams in the league. They produce high quality chances at an incredible rate. Their expected goals for rate is top of the league, up there with Carolina. For someone like me that has wanted a team to be this dominant for so long, we have one. This is the best team I've ever seen in my entire existence on this planet. I'm only 30 years old, so I didn't get to grow up with the 80s, glory days, that sort of thing. But the Edmonton Oilers are legit good. They have legit depth. Now, they do have a question mark on defense with Cody Ceci if they continue to, I know he's on the third pair right now, but they might go back to him in the top four, depending on the Stetcher and Desharnais situation. I know Desharnais hasn't looked great with Darnell Nurse in that role, but there's still time in the regular season to get that sorted out. And then they have Troy Stetcher as a backup as well. Not a bona fide number 4 D-man, but this is a good team. I think Stuart Skinner, he's played good this year. There's some squeakers that go through, and you'd like some saves here and there, but most of the losses, especially recently, they're not on the goaltending. When we lose, we're not scoring goals. This is pretty much it's not even a 3-2 league anymore. This is a 4-3 league. And I would say when we look at the losses to Columbus and Buffalo, well, Edmonton only scored 2 goals against each of them in regulation. It sucked watching Buffalo beat Edmonton twice. That was not fun. That was interesting game to say the least, with the offside review and overtime. But the Oilers went 2-1-1 on the road trip. They beat Boston and they beat Pittsburgh. Those were the 2 tougher matchups, and they played Boston perfectly. That was like a playoff match. The defense of both teams, the goaltending from both teams, it was a phenomenal game. If you are into the defensive side of hockey, that game against Boston was terrific, and it shows how good Edmonton can be on the defensive side of the puck. The game against Columbus, it was a day before the trade deadline, and you had just acquired Henrique and Carrick. They were inserted into the lineup. I would chalk up that poor performance against Columbus as just kind of like a lull, just kind of you're coming down off that high against Boston, and you just don't have the jump, and then you have 2 guys inserted into the lineup that haven't been around your team at all, so there's an adjustment there. The loss against Columbus, not great. It was a bad game. There's no excuses, but I can see why they lost that one. The game against Buffalo, you would like to see them not blow a 2-0 lead to the Sabres, but the Sabres, they had Tage Thompson back. He is a game breaker. We know how good Tage Thompson is. And so I think the road trip, they got 5 out of 8 points. I would consider that successful. They're coming back home. They're going to play Washington, and then I think they play Colorado on Saturday, which is going to be that game's going to be full of fireworks. That's the first time they've met this season, which is wild that it's taken until March. Well, by the time they actually play, it's going to be March 16th. Yeah, just looking at the game schedule here. March 16th is when they play Colorado for the first time this year, which is pretty outrageous, pretty crazy. But so that's kind of my thoughts on the trade deadline, the state of the team. Now, the arguments about whether they could have done more at the trade deadline, I totally get, but I do want to know your thoughts. I'm kind of rambling in this video. I've had a lot to talk about. The team has played games. I haven't gotten any videos out, so I do apologize for that, but I am back now. We're going to have regularly scheduled daily uploads again. Not sure what my video will be for tomorrow. Could be power rankings video, could be another kind of discussion video. I haven't decided yet. And then, of course, Wednesday, I will have a pregame report and a postgame recap for the game against Washington, which I'm looking forward to. I appreciate everyone's patience. I appreciate all the kind words on social media when I was sick, when I put out that post saying that I was too sick to get anything done this weekend. Your support and kind words meant a lot. I really, really do appreciate it. So thank you so much. And thanks for watching this video. Like I said, let me know your thoughts on the deadline in the comments section. Let me know if you think this team has what it takes to go all the way, because I think they do. And I'm someone that's pretty notoriously negative about the Oilers, but I am confident in this group, and I'm very excited about the additions that the team made. I'm excited to see Stetcher get into the lineup. I'm excited for the last probably quarter of the season, last fifth of the year. It's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at here. Again, if you like the video, make sure you like. If you really liked it, make sure you hit subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. You guys take care. Take care.